Welcome to Wellness Spring, where we bring you transformative insights from top experts. Today's guest is a real treat for dog lovers and Wrexham football fans. Paul Welsh, the mastermind behind the Canine Coach, has spent over 25 years helping people transform their dog's behavior with cutting-edge positive reinforcement methods. But here's the twist. Paul said the real challenge isn't the dogs, it's us humans. He's here today to reveal how to get the best out of your furry friend. Plus, Paul's journey started in Wrexham, Wales, working at the legendary Racecourse football ground from the age of 11 before heading to Australia. He is a die-hard Wrexham fan, and he's even been interviewed for the hit documentary Welcome to Wrexham, which is, of course, produced by the club's famous owners, Reynolds and McElhenney. So tune in today for some incredible stories from training dogs to life in the world's most talked about football club. Hi, Paul. It's so lovely to see you and welcome to Wellness Spring.
Thank you, Beverly. Great to be here.
Thank you. And it was so great to meet you at the St. David's Day event in Canberra. And I can see you're wearing a Wrexham shirt today.
That's right. Yes, that's where I'm from. And then now it's a very well-known football team.
Yes, well, I was surprised with the opening of the St. David ceremony that the President, Steve Evans, mentioned Welcome to Wrexham series, because I'm personally not a football follower, but it did pique my interest. And then after talking to you and a couple of guys from North Wales, Brian and I ended up watching the show and actually going to Wrexham. And I know that you used to work on the turnstiles in the Wrexham football ground, the racecourse. Can you tell us about that, your experiences there and so forth?
Yeah, so the guy I used to go to school with in Bromfield in Wrexham, his father used to run the turnstile operation. So he got chatting to me and he says, "Do you want to work there?" And I said, "Yeah, no problem." So I started selling programs and sort of these like raffle tickets sort of thing. And then he says, "Do you want to work up to the turnstiles?" So I started working on the turnstiles. Back then, the ground was still fairly old. We had the old stand and stuff like that. So it was quite a good experience. I ended up working mainly on the Yale stand, which is now the Wrexham Lager stand.
Oh,
And then
wow.
So basically every home game, internationals, European games, I worked on the turnstiles.
That's fantastic. And as a lifelong Wrexham Football Club fan, how did it feel to witness the promotion game in 2023?
It was fantastic. I was there for the Bournemouth game as well. So I was actually there in
Wow.
Wrexham for the Bournemouth game, which got us out of the non-league. And then I watched the game over here. I watched the whole season over here on iFollow. And I was back in Wrexham for 3 games in February.
Fantastic.
So
And you were also interviewed by the BBC Wales and the Radio National in Australia. How did that come about?
that came about because when I was looking for a ticket for the Bournemouth game, I put a message on Facebook, Welsh Pool, Welsh Deadpool Facebook page, and one of the guys in Wrexham saw it. He sort of went, "Okay, you're coming from Australia," so he said he can have one of his tickets. I got his ticket. I met up with him, and I think BBC Wales must have done a search or something on Wrexham, and they came up with me, and they interviewed me for I think the day before the game, and asked me some questions about how long I've been supporting Wrexham, I told them about the turnstiles. I've been, following Wrexham since I was probably 8 or 9, sort of thing. I remember going to the first game with my father, and it was a cold experience, but I just remember picking up golf balls in the paddock.
Fantastic. That's
Yeah,
hilarious.
yeah.
Because obviously now the global attention around Wrexham Football Club has received huge amount of coverage, and the hype is there. When I went to visit Wrexham, went to the turf, the pub, and met
I used to
Wayne
play football for the
Jones.
turf.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, Sunday
Do
morning
you,
football.
Oh, fabulous. Do you want to tell the listeners a bit about the history of the Wrexham Football Club and what has happened with Rob and Ryan buying the two actors, Rob and Ryan Reynolds,
Okay.
buying the team?
Yeah, so the football club is the third oldest football club in the world. It's the oldest still in use international ground. It used to be a racecourse, but then it sort of changed into a football ground. And then so it's been going for quite a long time. Um, the what was the what's wrong with train of thought there? So I started watching Wrexham when I was, like I said before, my father took me to the first game. I was about 8 or 9. Started going on my own when I was about 12 or 13. Um, and then when I left in '83, so I stopped sort of going to the games then. What Rob and Ryan done for the ground, for the Wrexham, for the local community, for North Wales and for Wales is a fantastic thing. They've really put Wrexham on the map. They've sort of revitalized the community. It was very much in the doldrums because of the lack of investment from the government. So they've really put lot more pride back into the community. Made Wales, Wrexham, North Wales more of a destination now. So there's lots of people going there on tours to the major. Like I was saying to my mum used to work in the chip shop now in Jones's on St George's Crescent, and now that's one of the places where people go to on the tour. So it's
Oh,
just
that's
like
hilarious.
yeah, it's really a weird thing. I told my mum that as well, and she was like, "What do you mean Jones's Fish Shop now is part of the Welcome to Wrexham type sort of tour that people will go on when they visit Wrexham?"
Yeah, it's amazing because obviously Rob and Ryan bought the club, but they've actually fallen in love with the town and
They have.
involved all the locals or a lot of the locals, because you see in the different series some of the same people that it's like they're continuing the stories.
They have, yeah. So they're really and it's Beverly, you're a great example of how the Welcome to Wrexham story has touched not only people who love football, but who just love stories of community. And that's what they've brought. They've realized that, yeah, the football club's part of the thing, but the community is the bigger part. To see all those stories is really a wonderful thing to see. And that's what grabbed the attention of the world. And it's literally the world. I mean, um, I went to the rugby a couple of weeks ago in Sydney, and I was sitting in front of a couple of young Australian guys, must have been 12, 14, and they knew about Ollie Palmer. Ollie Palmer is the centre forward for Wrexham. So we're having a conversation about that. So now it's just like when I first went to Australia, nobody knew where Wrexham was. So I came to Australia in '84, nearly 40 years in November, and nobody knew where Wrexham was. But now you talk to people, random people in the street, they know where Wrexham is.
I
And
know it's a
that's all down to Ryan McElhenney, Rob McElhenney and Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, with their wonderful series, Welcome to Wrexham. And what I like about it, they go into the history of the town, the locals, the team, that you get to meet some of the key players, families, and obviously Paul Mullins. They've even made the
That's
song
right.
Super Paul Mullins. You know, they
That's right.
talk about his child having autism, and then there's
That's
a
right.
part of it. So I think it's great for education and finding out about what happens behind the scenes as well. But like
Definitely.
myself, I've now got an interest in football, and it seems like everybody I talk to, and on my travels, you know, I did a lot of filming
Yes.
when I was there, and people going, "Oh, tell me about it! I can't wait to hear about it," and what it was like. So it's funny.
It's
So
it's still mind blowing to me. Even now, three
yeah,
years into this, it's still mind blowing.
yeah. Well, it really warms my heart that Wales is, you know, back on the map, and you know, it's and everybody's talking about Wales because you know we've been in the shadow of England, even though we're
That's right.
part of Great Britain for so long. And so, why did you leave Wales and Wrexham?
I left Wrexham and Wales because back in 1982, there was massive unemployment. I got made redundant from where I was working as apprentice in air products in Nakrivai, which is just outside Wrexham. I always wanted to sort of travel the world, and so I decided there was a few people that I knew who went over to New Zealand in Auckland, and I decided to follow them. So I followed them to New Zealand in Auckland in 1983, and then from there I went from um, Auckland and into Australia in 1984. So I spent about 18 months in New Zealand, and now I've been in Australia for 40 years.
Yeah, and what work did you do when you first came there? And also, you've been talking about your father and your family. When I emigrated to Australia, they were like, "Why would you want to do that?" You know, everybody was freaking
Yeah.
out, and you know. So tell us about how your family reacted when you were coming over. How easy or not it was to get work.
My family, I think, always knew that I wanted to leave, so they were very supportive of that. But I didn't think they realised that I'd be out here for this long. I think they thought it might go for a holiday and then go back and live in Wrexham. But once I've sort of looked over here and saw the opportunities over here, I just decided this is the place I want to spend the rest of my life. And to get a job out here was very easy. With the skills that I got taught in Wrexham with my apprenticeship, they really transferred to Australia. I was never out of work one day in Australia. I tried different things when I was over here. I tried being a plasterer as labourer. I was driving heavy machinery, but I felt I went back into welding, and that got me lots of work. There was no problem getting work at all.
Fabulous. And you were living in Sydney as well when you first came to Australia.
Yeah, so I was living in Sydney. I did the backpacking thing as well around Sydney and New Zealand, that kind of thing. So I did those kind of holiday things as well. But basically, just stayed in Sydney to work because there's a lot of work in Sydney.
And how did you change career to dog behavioral training?
That was about 25 years ago now. Me and my wife, Katie, we love dogs, so we decided to get a couple of dogs. Our first two dogs were okay. They had no issues, but then when we got our second and third dog, our third and fourth dogs, they sort of were very anxious dogs. So I wanted to know more about how I could help them. And so the dog training club I used to go to, they helped me, and then they put me on a path of trying to gain as much knowledge as I can to help my two golden retrievers at the time. So I started sort of helping out at the dog club, got a bit more involved, started going to courses, ended up doing a certificate forward in dog behavioral training. Then I sort of started my own sort of business off in Sydney. Then I moved to We moved to Canberra, and then I still was doing a little bit of welding here. And then back in probably 2009, I decided to go full time, and then I was doing dog behavioral training, one-on-one sessions, puppy classes, dog behavioral classes, dog walking.
Right. And What could one expect? Like, what does that training involve? What happens, say, if I came to you with my dog, for example?
Depending on the actual issue, it could be just show you how to do things, like to get your dog to sit. Basically, what you're trying to do with dog training is trying to train the person. So you got to be very good at trying to teach people a skill, so they then can sort of understand their dog a little bit better and have their dog sort of be more responsive by you understanding what the dog is trying to communicate to us, which sometimes people sort of don't understand what they're trying to communicate to us.
Right. And do you help people with fears of dogs? Because I remember when we spoke, I told you that I got attacked by an Alsatian many moons ago in my early 20s. And I freak out now every time I'm near dogs, and especially when they're barking and fighting, which Brian tells me they're only playing.
It depends on what the situation, and that's where the knowing more about dog behavior comes in, because you can tell them if they are being serious or not being serious. But basically, it's just exposure. So exposure to dogs that are nice and calm, and you could be just nearby and having a good time, maybe having a glass of wine or eating something that you enjoy. So just associating a good feeling around dogs and just doing that over and over again. So then you see a dog and go, oh, it's a dog. That's a good feeling, instead of one of anxiety of going, oh, that dog might bite me. So it's just a matter of finding out the right dog and then finding a reward that you find rewarding to make that a pleasurable experience.
Right. And I know that for me, even just talking about it, just imagining being around them, it's hard. And Brian's persuading me to buy a dog, or suggesting we have a dog when we buy some land. So um, I guess, like you say, it's knowing the people and knowing the dogs.
Yeah, so you don't have to go right up to them. So just what I'm saying about exposure is just like you go out somewhere and you could be 20, 30 meters away, knowing full well then dogs can get to you. So going to a place where maybe the dogs are behind a fence or they're on lead, and you don't even have to go and touch them. You don't have to, so being 20, 30 meters away, and then basically over time, you just try to, maybe if you want to, get a little bit closer, and
Right.
closer and closer until you're more comfortable, and not getting stressed about seeing a dog or what the dog's going to do to you. But it's finding the right temperament of dog as well. So a dog who's nice and calm to help you with
Yeah.
this journey, and then just take more exposure at a level that you can really handle. So your anxiety and your cortisol level is going to be kept fairly low, uh, and you're not going to feel that you want to leave. So that flee flight response is not triggered.
Yeah, I have been getting better over the years and going around visiting people on farms. I've been getting closer to dogs than one of my niece. But I find when I'm out walking and dogs, if you're in a park, for example, are all fighting or, biting or loud barking, that's what really triggers me then.
Yeah, once again, it's just expose yourself to that thing as much as you
Yeah,
can, and knowing them full well, but making sure that you're having, if you're then getting triggered, to me, then that just means then that sometimes you're maybe a little bit too close to that particular stimulus. So you just need to be a bit further
right.
away and taking things slowly. You just got to then have
Okay.
something when you see a dog. Give yourself something. You might say something like a mantra, a positive thing. That they're not going to hurt me, or that's okay, or whatever you want to say to
Yeah.
yourself. Just keep on repeating that, and then
Yeah.
associate that with maybe dogs.
Thank you. And yeah, Brian reckons when we buy one, it'll be a puppy, and then it'd be easier to get used to it and then
Oh yeah,
meet
but you
other
can get,
dogs.
yes, some dogs. You can get an adult dog. I mean, greyhounds are a great dog to get, because the fact that all they want to do really is just lie around. Sometimes a puppy could
Right.
be a bit overwhelming depending on the puppy you get.
Yeah.
So it's a lot, and puppies a lot of work.
Yeah.
A
Well,
lot of
we're
work.
thinking of a Rhodesian Ridgeback because he thinks they'd be good to protect me while I'm on my own.
Oh yeah, there's that, but there's a lot of work to, it's like if you're a little bit afraid of dog, they're a big dog as well. So it's just like,
Mm,
you got to try and make your not you got to try and get to a position where you feel comfortable around dogs before you even think about getting a puppy, I think.
okay. That's a really good tip. Thank you.
Yeah.
And can you tell us about your most memorable experience while you've been working with the RSPCA in Canberra? Because you mentioned that to me.
Yeah, yeah. So I used to do consulting at the RSPCA. So it's not so much the most memorable. The thing that I enjoyed was just trying to help the dogs that were in the facility, just to try and make them more approachable or more easy to get rehomed. So that might involve just training them. Some dogs were not good with other dogs, so working on that kind of fearful, not going with the dogs, barking at other dogs, so working on those kind of behaviors, getting a dog to walk on a loose lead, getting the dogs not to sort of be at the back of the kennel. If the back of the kennel, they won't come to the kennel, then people sometimes go, dog looks scared. Sometimes the dog might be tired. So it was just basically just I really enjoyed just trying to help every dog that I sort of spent some little bit of time with when I was there doing my consulting.
Oh,
There wasn't,
fabulous.
yeah, yeah.
But because a lot of dogs have been mistreated, haven't they, or abandoned, and they might
A
end
lot
up
of the
there.
dogs, a lot of the dogs at the SPCA were sadly sort of surrendered there because they were too much for their owner. So some of the things you used to hear about people surrendering their dogs was we're moving overseas, or we're moving to a smaller house, or we didn't realize the puppy was going to get that big. So
Mm,
yes, there are things like people do abuse dogs, but the vast majority were dogs that were too big. They got too big, too boisterous.
right.
So the dog they thought they were going to get, it just got too unwieldy for them. Not didn't fit in the family. So they might have had a big family, and the dog was just too much for the family and the dog to well together. And just basically, like I said, downsizing the house, moving overseas, all those kind of things.
Right. Yeah, I hadn't thought of it that way. And I guess in COVID lockdown, many people bought dogs. And then after it, you hear that they'd been abandoned or they were giving them away, or you could see, anybody want a dog, you can have it a lot on the
Yeah, yeah,
marketplace.
yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah. And that was one of the
yeah,
one of the good things about COVID was when COVID first started was everybody got a dog for a companion. But then the downside of that was when it finished, people then went back to their normal life and then they didn't have time for the dog. So that was one of the downsides of it.
yeah. So I guess, dogs need a lot of attention. So they like babies, but a lot of people go out to work, or which dogs would be the best to stay at home without people there?
As long as you do the work, as long as you get the dog used to sort of being on its own, then that's the key. So most
Yeah.
dogs you can train to do lots of things. Be on their own, sit, jump through hoops, all kinds of behaviors. But basically, it's just spending the time trying to get your dog used to not being at home. Because not what normally happens is people get a dog over a weekend, and then what they do is then go back to work. So they're not giving the dog a chance to sort of get used to that sort of new environment or new way of living. So ideally what people should be doing is if they get a puppy or rehome a dog, they should be trying to spend 2 or 3 weeks of getting the puppy used to their new environment, and then as the days and weeks go by, gradually setting the dog up for success by leaving the dog for longer periods. So instead of going get the dog for the weekend, over the weekend, and then leave it for 8-10 hours, spend 3 or 4 weeks getting the dog used to sort of, the first week maybe going out the house for an hour, then the second day maybe a little bit longer, the third week, the second week then maybe a few more hours. So basically over time, just trying to get the dog used to people not being around. And the breed of dog, some dogs, maybe the working breeds are a little bit not so good for that, but any dog really you could train to be accepting of being isolated for quite long lengths of time.
Okay. And do you want to delve in a bit deeper about your training methods? And because you mentioned repetitive, and I know you do a lot with positive reinforcement techniques and delta.
Yep. Yeah. So the groups that I'm involved with are the Australian Pet Dog Trainers Association and the Pet Guild, Pet Professional Guild, who are two positive training organizations in Australia. So we just believe that dogs should use to do positive reinforcement, which is basically rewarding desired behaviors, and usually ignoring the ones that you don't want because the science tells you then behaviors go away. So it's just basically trying to have a good relationship with your dog by trying to reward your dog as much as you can when you can, being using food, toys, praise, touching, whatever it is. We control all the resources, so the dog understand what works and doesn't work. So they'll do things that work and don't do things that don't work.
Right. And if they're naughty dogs, like tearing your furniture up or other things,
I don't
do
see
you
dogs
punish
like
them?
naughty. No,
Oh,
to
okay.
me that's a human problem. So
Right.
if a dog was tearing your furniture up, why is that? You've got to delve a bit more into that. Is it because of the dog's anxious? Is it because you left the dog alone? It's got some kind of separation anxiety type sort of behavior. Not enough exercise, not enough environmental enrichment. Have we let the dog have free roam of the house when it's not ready for that? So when I'm training puppies, or initially when I get a puppy, for instance, I will train it to go into a crate for short periods of time, or I'll put barriers up, so baby gates, basically just like putting kids' baby barrier things up. So putting things up like that, making sure that the dog is well exercised, making sure it's got lots of enrichment, so the dog's mind's occupied. So things like food puzzles, hiding things in different containers, maybe in toilet rolls or in snuffle mats. Snuffle mats basically is just like indoor grass, where you can make it out of,
Yeah.
you make it out of a fabric, and you just make it like they got to use their nose and try and get it out. Things that they got to chew, things that things that you want them to chew on. So when see people say, "Oh, my dog's chewing the furniture," there's a lots of reasons why. Why is that? And what's the alternative for that? So all those things I just said then is what I'd go into if I was doing a consult.
Oh, great. And what other things would you go into?
Oh, like I said, trying to find out if it is anxiety based. Is it anxiety based? You're trying to work with that. So if does the dog need more enrichment? Does it need more um, training? Training is a good way of having you sort of get that relationship there. So training also then makes the dog a bit more tired. Uh, looking at the home, maybe like I said before, they've let the dog have free rein when it's not ready for free rein yet, kind of
Yeah.
thing. What's the environment like in the group dynamic of the home? Are people being consistent? Is everybody being consistent? Is one person not being consistent? And then that makes the behavior of the dog a little bit more unpredictable, because the dog doesn't know what to do, because sometimes it gets rewarded for behaviors and sometimes it doesn't. Is the dog
Mm.
getting punished? Because if the dog's getting punished, it might be doing things then to relieve that anxiety by looking for something to chew. So I see a chewing behavior sometimes as a teething behavior maybe in young dogs, or is it an anxiety behavior? Do we give it enough things for it to chew on
Okay.
to relieve the stress?
And yeah. And do you see many people where the dogs are overfed or underfed? Do you have to teach them
Oh yes.
about what they eat?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So sometimes people do sort of like give the dog too much food. Normally, I would then recommend that they talk to their vet. The vet then can tell them exactly um, what's the best course for them to go put the dog onto a diet. I can sometimes give them a little bit of a heads up, but usually that's more towards the vet. And they'll probably listen to a guy or somebody in a coat, in a white coat, than they would do from a trainer coming in telling that the dog's overweight. It's that kind of thing. And usually people know when they start feeding the dog too much.
Yeah, well, you hear a lot of people saying, "Oh, my dog's put on so much weight," and then you have to think, "Well, why is he put on weight? Who's feeding him?"
There's that. There's also sometimes the how much exercise your dog's getting. So you'd ask those kind of questions, like is your dog getting enough exercise? Um, Portion control, same as humans. What they say on the packet sometimes is too much. So and that's why having the conversation with the vet will tell you, oh, your dog can lose, say, 10% of its body weight, or 5% of its body weight, or 1% of its body weight by just feeding it a little bit less, kind of thing. And maybe just going for a walk, get the dog up and do a bit of a walking sort of thing. So
Cool.
more exercise usually, and portion control is the way to not have your dog overweight.
Same as us humans, then. So,
Definitely same as humans. Yeah. Like I said before, it's trying to train the human, not to train the dog. Training the dog is fairly an easy process, but training the
Mm,
human is a bit more difficult.
cool. And I know you've worked with Australian support dogs and mine dogs. So, how has that influenced your approach to dog training?
Um, it's made me more aware of people's how they view their dog. Um, Also made me a better trainer because one of my dogs who was anxious, actually, I trained her when I was working with Oz dogs to actually do all the things that we used to train the dogs for the recipient, people with cerebral palsy or whatever, with MS or whatever. So I used to train my dog. I trained one of my dogs to do things like um, press the button on the walk when you go across the road, get things out of the dishwasher, take a jacket off. So it was one good way of me understanding how the dogs will work in the environment that we're sending them to. So that was a great learning tool for me. With Mind Dog, it was more to do with trying to get the people who wanted the dog for a support dog past what they call the public access test. So people got to pass a test to try and get the jacket, which is probably people might see the jacket, like a yellow jacket, um, in the out there in the world, and it was just a matter of me trying to help them navigate to get the dog up to a standard where they can pass that test. So they've got to go into like a lift, shopping center, leave things alone, maybe go into the chair if you're at a cafe, not being scared of things, not being scared of noises, good around people, good around other dogs. So basically, basic training and then just exposure to different environments.
Cool. And you mentioned the yellow jackets. It just brought back a memory of Australia Day here in Sydney. I went to the government house and I met a guy there and he had a dog and he told me he was training it and helping it to be a therapy dog for the courts.
Ah, yes, yeah,
And
yeah.
And since then, I've met so many people who said, oh, yeah, we got a therapy dog in our dentist, or we got a therapy dog here. So, what are your thoughts on that? And is it on the rise?
It's a good thing, as long as they give the dogs a break as well. So when we were working with Oz dogs, for example, we used to say to the people, work the dog have the dog working for you for 15, 20 minutes, but then give the dog a bit of a break. And it's the same people sometimes with the mind dogs, support dogs. It was just trying to give the dog a little bit of a break as well, because it's difficult for them to keep on working for great lengths of time. I think it's a great thing that more dogs are being involved in our everyday life. And if it's there and the dog's are there to help people provide a little bit of comfort, it's a great thing. I just wish we could take our dogs. One thing I noticed about being back in Wrexham was there's lots of dogs there now, can go into pubs and cafes and stuff like that. They've got like treats on the bar, they've got water bowls all over the place. As long as your dog is relatively well trained, they're quite accepting. Hopefully Australia can sort of get on board with that as well.
I think it's happening because where we live in Woolwich in Sydney and go for walks, they've got doggy treats on the bars.
Yeah.
And when I was in Melbourne, a new sort of takeaway cafe had opened, and they had dog snacks on the bar as well.
Were the
So,
dogs allowed
and you
inside?
do, because of the lockdowns, and we're mainly in the countryside, I haven't really paid too much attention, but there are some pubs. There's one in Erskineville where it's a dog-friendly pub, restaurant, and they all outside. You see everybody with their dogs out there sitting on the
Yeah.
cafe chairs. I
Yeah.
haven't seen too many in the pubs, but I'm not sure, so
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can't
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So
answer
that's
that.
one thing is trying to get into more inside. As long as they're well trained, and that's where the training comes in. That's where people have got to really sort of, if you want your dog to go into these kind of places, you really have got to train your dog to be a well trained dog.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a good point because, as you say, it's all about humans, and you can see kids sometimes in pubs, babies and children running around and screaming.
Yes.
And so it's the same as that.
Yeah.
And um, so you are now transitioning to being a full-time dog walker. So how is that going?
Oh, that's going great. So uh, I've sort of decided to stop the behavioral consulting once COVID sort of finished. And then I decided then just to offer. I was doing dog walking for my clients, so I kept on doing dog walking for my old clients, and that's going really really
Yeah.
well. So I take on new clients sometimes. It just depends on what part of the city they're in. So that's one thing. But yeah, it's going great. I couldn't be happier. It's great getting out, especially when the weather's not too cold, but it's the weather today in Canberra is beautiful, nice sunny day. So it's a lovely day to be walking dogs.
Oh, fantastic. And I always ask my clients if there's one thing you could do to to save the world, what would it be?
One thing, everybody have a dog.
Yay! I thought you might have said that. And
Everybody have a dog.
before we close, is there anything you would like to share with the listeners?
Oh, one thing, everybody make sure that you watch Welcome to Wrexham. It's a fantastic with dogs. They're great for people with got sort of who are a little bit sort of anxious maybe. So they're great for dogs for mental health because they help build routine. They make you get out of bed in the morning, take them for a walk. They're always there if you have had a bad day. They're always there to give you a bit of a lick, bit of a cuddle. They're always happy to see you. They give you a sense of purpose, and like I said before, they bring that love, that joy, and that unconditional love. They're fantastic to have around. My dogs
Oh,
make me laugh every single day as well. Every single day, my dogs make me laugh in some way.
That's beautiful. That's that unconditional love. And I'm glad you mentioned mental health. It's so important when we're
Yes.
thinking, because we talked about our physical, but mental and emotional, spiritual health, it's a great package. And as you said, dogs give you unconditional love. So,
Yeah. And just patting the dog brings your heart rate down. So just having a
wow.
dog, and if your dog's, being around my dogs, it just really helps me sort of like it lowers your heart rate. It makes you feel really, really comfortable. Just to have them sort of there so you can just touch them. And it's a fantastic feeling to have your dogs just nuzzle into you and make all these different kind of noises when they're happy to see you, all that kind of stuff. It's a really fantastic thing. Joyous.
Wonderful. And this has been a very joyous conversation and very educational, especially for me. And I'm sure the
Okay.
listeners are going to enjoy it. And can they reach out to you on Facebook if they got any questions?
Yeah, like I said, I'm sort of retired from doing the behavioural stuff, but I can ask a few. You can ask a few questions. So, the Canine Coach Canberra is the place to look for me. Also, on that Facebook page, when COVID happened, I did some basic training videos. So if people go on there and they want to learn the dog to sit, leave, I think I showed one of my dogs walking up the stairs backwards, some steps backwards. So drop, just some basic foundation behaviors. So I show people how to get them started or do those behaviors. And sometimes I think I did a few progressions as well of
Oh,
training.
wonderful. Wonderful. I'll be looking at those for sure. So thank you so much, Paul, for giving up your precious time today. So yeah, so I'll let you know when I'll drop you the links before I publish them, and you can let me know if you're okay with them, and then we'll share them. It'll be in a few weeks' time because we've got quite a bit of work on at the moment, but I normally say 2 or 3 weeks, and then
That's
I'll
it.
send you the links. Yeah,
Great. Fantastic. Great talking to you, Beverly.
great.